Hello lovely people, how are you all this afternoon? I hope you're well. I hope you've got a bit more light than I have today. I've had to drag myself and the camera in my window again today because there's just no light. It's ridiculous. It's the middle of the afternoon, almost into April, and we are still grey and damp and miserable every single day, it seems. I've never known a winter like this to drag on for so long. It's getting very tedious now. But here we are at the end of month 11. And I'm going to repeat myself as I do every month and say, how on earth did that happen? Where has the time gone? You know, in a way, by sort of sitting down and chatting with you all at the end of each month, it's made me really conscious of time just goes. You really have to make the most of it because it's literally, it's the end of month 11. It's been a bit of an odd month in some ways. Not horrible, but just, look, I think a lot of it's to do with this weather that we've had. Obviously at the beginning of March we had that dumping of snow, which was really quite beautiful. But since then it's just been, it's not cold as such, but this greyness. And I think, and I'm sure there's a lot of you who will understand this, I think this sort of weather, it really kind of, it sort of creeps into your soul after a while. I honestly don't know how people live in the far north and have such dark winters, because I mean, I'm kind of getting a bit desperate for some sunshine and warmth. And actually, even if it's not sunny and warm, just to see some blue sky and a bit of brightness. So I think the weather has definitely impacted on me this month and my feelings, because I've had quite a few days of just feeling not depressed, but just feeling this sort of sense of inertia of, you know, I just can't be bothered. I get up in the morning and I think, I can't be bothered. And everything I'm doing, I'm having to force myself to do. It's ridiculous. I think something else has had a huge impact this month, and that is, it's the anniversary. At the beginning of the month, it was the anniversary of me handing in my notice at work. I didn't quit on the spot. I had another 2 months of work, as it were, to work my notice. So it wasn't until the very end of April that I got my last paycheck. So the 1st of May is kind of, that's the start of the year of going wage free. But the beginning of March the 3rd, because it popped up in my Facebook feed from a year ago, was the day I quit my job. And a week later, I quit a long-term relationship. And my goodness, you know, I thought I'd kind of dealt with everything in my mind. But this month, like I say, it's been full of these little anniversaries. Anniversary of deaths, that sort of thing as well. And it's funny, it's how to articulate it, that it all really hit me suddenly this month. I don't know why. I think it is just that anniversary thing. You know, we all have all sorts of anniversaries, whether it's birthdays, wedding anniversaries, the anniversary of, you know, graduating from uni, anniversary of getting a first job, all those things. We have so many wonderful anniversaries we celebrate. But then there are anniversaries of things which aren't so great, whether it's, you know, being made redundant, getting divorced, you know, and worst of all, the death of a loved one. And I think it's perfectly normal on anniversary days of the sad anniversaries to feel all sorts of emotions come up again. I think that's perfectly normal. In the same way that it's normal, say it's our birthday, and we spend a day celebrating and being spoilt rotten and being the centre of attention and all the cuddles and the hugs, that we find perfectly natural to celebrate. So I think it's also perfectly natural to have a day when it's a sad anniversary of spending time with ourselves and having a bit of a sort of a commiseration. So I think having those days, so for instance with the job, I don't regret it at all. I mean, the fact was physically I couldn't go on anyway, and I think emotionally I was pretty well done in. So I don't regret it at all, but I can't help 1 year on to remember back to that particular shift. It was a night shift. It was the last of 3 night shifts. I was dead on my feet and desperate to go home at sort of 8:30 or whatever in the morning, but having to stay at work and wait a bit for my manager to come in during the daytime to give her my letter. Yeah, so I remember that night really well. I remember the 2 kids I was looking after, and I can't help but think of my colleagues, and, you know, as much as it was a stressful job, my God, it was so stressful. We were a fab team. I loved those girls. Absolutely loved them to bits. And, you know, we had a laugh at times as well. I think you have to. When you're facing the kind of adversity that our poor patients are facing every day, you have to find moments to laugh. So a whole year later, I can't help but sort of think about them all, you know, how they're doing now, think about the kids I was looking after. So yeah, what a weird month. Thinking a lot about my dad and other family members. And actually, you know what, the other thing about these anniversary days, especially the sad ones, I think it's really, really important when having an anniversary, whether it's a week, a month, a year, 10 years, if it's one of the sad ones, is to also reflect on how far you've come since that initial date, since that initial thing happened. So like just a few weeks ago, thinking about my dad, I was bursting into tears every 2 minutes. It's just that raw, horrible stage of grief. And now I'm not crying every 5 minutes, far from it. And actually I'm remembering, and I'm kind of remembering with gladness. I still have a couple of moments when I, well up, and that's never going to go away completely. But yeah, so if you're going through a bit of an anniversary at the moment that's a tough one, think about the state you were in a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever that event happened, and look at yourself now and how far you've come. And you know what? Give yourself a hug of congratulations, because you're a stronger person today for going through that than you were the day before it happened. I think all these things in life, you can look at them 2 ways. You can either let them completely floor you, or you can learn from it and grow from it. And I think especially if it's a decision that maybe you made at a time and there was some regrets around it or some bad feelings around it, and you behaved in a way that you reflect back on and don't like. Again, we can learn from that and say to ourselves, okay, that didn't go as I wanted it to, but it's the past. I can't do anything about it now, so I have to just let it go. Let it go. Can't do a thing about it. But what we can all do is think to ourselves, you know what, if that happens again, if something like that happens again in the future, I'm going to learn from that and hopefully handle things a little bit differently, and hopefully handle things better and cope with things better. Excuse me a sec. So yeah, it's been a really, really, really reflective month this month. I think that's partly, like I said, because of the weather, but not just because of the weather being a bit of a mood kind of sapper, but also because I've been spending so much time indoors and quite a bit of time on my own. It's fine. But I think when I'm at home on my own, if I'm quietly sewing, I've been doing loads of sewing, you know, I'm just alone with my thoughts going around and around. But rather than getting stuck and it being just a tape that goes round, I try to listen to sort of what my own head is reflecting on or saying, and sort of dissect it a bit and see what I've learnt. That all sounds a bit too much, doesn't it? It's not something I do consciously. It's an unconscious habit, but I think it's kind of what gets me through little tough moments. I don't have many tough moments in life. I'm generally pretty okay and lucky with my lot. Yay! So in terms of still living without a wage, their food supplies are getting really, really low. I think realistically probably by about mid-May. So I think from about mid-May through to the beginning of July, I'm going to have to be starting to buy some fresh veggies, because what I've got left, a little bit in the garden still, and the stored stuff at home, yeah, realistically, I don't think it's going to last till about mid-June, beginning of July, when the new fresh stuff starts to come out of the garden. But that's okay. I sort of anticipated that. I've thought about that quite a bit this month, because obviously I'm laying the garden out in my head and on paper, and I honestly don't think there's anything else I can do in terms of cramming more food into the garden in order to last longer. I just don't have the space now. But it does make me think, wow, if I had 2 plots, I'm pretty sure I would feed myself entirely for the year, which is amazing. So yeah, so I'm going to have to do a bit of food buying, like I say, from about mid-May. So I'm getting a giddy up with doing loads of sewing so that I can sell some sewing in order to generate a little bit of money to buy my food. But that's cool, you know, I'm using my resources, I'm using my skills. So that's all underway and going great. Money-wise, the rest of it, well, it's that time of year, isn't it, when all the bills get renewed, insurance and power bills and all that, and everything's gone up a little bit. So it just means I'm going to have to work a bit harder and tighten my belt wherever I can, which I don't think there are many places I can tighten it now, but we'll see. So yeah, all in all, I think I still kind of have to almost pinch myself. You know, part of that reflecting about work this time last year was, I remember for a couple of days after I'd handed my notice in, I had a couple of days off, and I kept waking up and thinking, yeah, I don't have to go to work anymore. Woohoo! No more 4:30 in the morning to get up and start my commute at 5:45. Yay! No more 14-hour shifts. Yay! And then I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, Vivi, you've really gone and done it. You've quit your job. What are you doing, you mad girl? You can't possibly live without money. Ugh. So I have, during this month, had moments of thinking, you know, wow, it really is possible. I know I kind of say that every month, don't I? But I think it's easy to do it for 3 or 4 months, especially in the summer when the garden is bountiful and when, you know, entertainment and life is more free and easy because we have these beautiful sunny days, go for a walk, that doesn't cost anything, spend time outside, out of the house with your friends, yay! To go through winter, I think, is a real test, and we're officially in spring now. Hopefully we get some sunshine, but I've got through winter as well. I've got through winter. So, all in all, it's been a really good month. I've had opportunities to count my blessings. I've had opportunities to think about some stuff and just lay it to rest. I'm still eating very well. I'm eating really, really yummy food. It's just that it's going to run out. I'm not spending. La vita è bella. I'm having a good time. So I hope that any of you out there who are about to embark on something similar or have been doing it for a few months now, I hope you've got faith that you can do it. That I hope I'm kind of showing you that it's possible, and that actually life can be really, really, really rich with zero money or next to zero money. My life is so much richer now than it ever has been, and I couldn't be happier. Cheers. So on that really happy note, as we go hopefully towards spring and some sunnier days, I will say cheerio for now. I will see you all again really soon. Maybe in the garden, if this rain never stops. If not in the garden, I will meet up in the kitchen, or, we'll find something to do, won't we? Cheerio everyone. See you again really soon. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves.